بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So we finished the muqaddima fi usul tafsir, the foundations of tafsir and how he's going to go about doing that. And we skipped over there's other chapters in his muqaddimah, so the introduction to Ibn Kathir is actually much longer. We skipped over that. There's virtues, there's other issues that he talks about, the Quran, like background information, things that are necessary, but that would extend our getting to tafsir. So as you'll see, even now, Ibn Kathir has many things to say before even getting to actual tafsir. So we're going to be talking about those. So he starts off Surah Al-Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He's going to start talking about the names of Fatiha. So Surah Fatiha is the most important surah of the Quran in terms of how often we're reciting it, how it's so necessary for Salah. Salah is not complete without Fatiha. So it has many names. As we know, when something is really important, people call it by different names. So if something or someone is extremely important, they'll have many nicknames, accolades, titles. And if they're not so important, then they just have the name that their parents gave them. No extra name. So a person's importance increases as they have many more children. So then you call them Abu Zayd or Abu Abdullah. They become more important. And if a person is a great scholar, then you say a sheikh, al-imam, so he gets new names. And they might become known with that name. Similarly, anything around the Arabs that they saw on a day-to-day basis, they have lots of names for them. For instance, horses, in Arabic, there's like so many names for horses. Lions, so many names for lion. You have Asad, you have Qadanfar, you have Haydar, the list goes on and on. Some people have compiled them in poetry, and it's just line after line for names. Similarly, Surah Fatiha is extremely important, so it has many names. So Ibn Kathir is going to mention these names of Fatiha and what they mean. So of course, the most commonly known name for this surah is Fatiha. And Fatiha means the opening, or the beginning. Right? So he says it's called Fatiha, meaning Fatihatul Kitabi Khattan. It is the beginning of the book in terms of how the book is written. So is it the absolute first revelation? The correct opinion is no. Surah Fatiha is not the first wahi to come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Although that's an opinion, he's going to talk about it. But he says it's the first part of Quran that is written. In the written form, when you open up the Quran that you and I have, the first surah is Fatiha. It's not Surah Al-Alaq. So that's why it's called Fatiha. Also, another reason why it's called Fatiha is because in Salah, this is how we start recitation. You cannot start recitation with anything else from the Quran other than Fatiha. Someone's going to come, well, I say the Thana, and I say this, and I say that. We're talking about Quran. The first thing you read of Quran in Salah is Fatiha. So that's another reason why it's called Fatiha, meaning the opening or the beginning. Another name for Fatiha is Ummul Kitab. And he says, according to the vast majority of scholars, they have accepted this name of Fatiha as Ummul Kitab. Literally means mother, but it has many other meanings in Arabic as well. It's not limited to mother. It's something that has a lot of importance, and he's going to define what means. So Ummul Kitab, according to one basic literal translation, will be the mother of the book. But that's not the context in which Fatiha is called Ummul Kitab. He also states, Anas radiyallahu anhu, Hassan, I believe Hassan al-Basri, and Ibn Sirin, they did not like this name. They have reason for not liking the name, but they felt like it shouldn't be called this. You shouldn't call it Ummul Kitab. And their reasoning is Hassan al-Basri and Ibn Sirin, they're tabi'een. They say Ummul Kitab is the Lawh Mahfuz. In the Quran, Surah Yasin, I believe, it's called Imam Mubin. But elsewhere, it's called, the Lawh al-Mahfuz is referred to So they said that's Lawh al-Mahfuz. You shouldn't call Surah Al-Fatiha by that name. And Hassan al-Basri also stated, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ali Imran, verse number 7, He calls the muhkamat, which are the very clear verses, Allah calls them Ummul Kitab. So Allah Himself is calling something else Ummul Kitab in the Quran. Hunna Ummul Kitab wa ukharu mutashabihat. Those of you who memorize the ayah, it's ayah number 7. Ummul Kitab is a reference to something else other than Fatiha. So he says, you shouldn't call it Ummul Kitab. However, Ibn Kathir is saying that the vast majority have allowed this, and they said that it is a name of Fatiha. Why? Because of the following hadith recorded by Imam at-Tirmidhi, and it is authenticated. Imam Tirmidhi says it's sahih. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Alhamdulillahi Ummul Quran. Alhamdulillah meaning Surah Al-Fatiha, the surah that starts with Alhamdulillah, is the Ummul Quran, mother of the Quran, wa Ummul Kitab, and it is the mother of the Kitab as well, was Sab'ul Mathani, and is the oft-repeated 7. So in this hadith, which is Sahih, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam calls it Ummul Quran and Ummul Kitab. Not just Ummul Kitab, but Ummul Quran as well. So this is a proof against Hassan al-Basri, against Ibn Sirin. But they have their proof. Like there's another ayah saying something else is Ummul Kitab. That doesn't negate the fact that we can call Quran Ummul Kitab. So that's why Ibn Kathir says the vast majority of scholars have stated that it can be called Ummul Kitab. Other names of Quran. It's also called As-Sab'ul Mathani wal Quran al-Azim. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it As-Sab'ul Mathani wal Quran al-Azim. As-Sab'ul Mathani, the oft-repeated 7. Because there's 7 verses in Surah Fatiha. So it's Allah calls it that in the Quran. That he states that we have given you, O Muhammad, the 7 oft-repeated ones and the great Quran. So scholars state that this is a reference to Surah Al-Fatiha and its importance. Another name for Surah Al-Fatiha, Al-Hamd. So if someone says, recite Surah Al-Hamd, it means Surah Fatiha. So it's not wrong to call it Al-Hamd. It's also called Surah Al-Salah, the Surah of Salah, because Salah is not complete without Surah Al-Fatiha. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in a hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, قَسَّمْتُ الصَّلَاةَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي نِصْفَيْنِ. I have split up Salah between myself and my slaves in half. So, meaning, there's a portion in Salah that is for your own benefit, and there is a portion of Salah that reflects your relationship with Allah. The entire Salah is for your benefit, but there's a piece of Salah where you're asking Allah, and there's a piece of Salah where you're worshipping Allah. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. I split up Salah, half is for me, half is for my slave. So which shows you the beauty of our acts of worship, where you're worshipping Allah, but you're receiving as well. So half of Salah is for yourself even. Meaning, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ إِهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. Guide us. You're making a dua. So Allah is forcing you to ask Him in Salah. So He says this is why it's called Surah Al-Salah. And the hadith continues, a very beautiful hadith, but this is not the time to mention the whole thing. So I'm just going to skip through it. He's basically saying this is called Surah Al-Salah because it's mentioned in Salah. Allah subhanahu the Surah Al-Fatiha is called Salah because it's a condition for Salah. Anyone who does not recite Surah Al-Fatiha in Salah, there's a difference of opinion between the scholars of fiqh. Some will say that Salah didn't even count. If you miss Fatiha in Salah, you didn't read Fatiha, you have to repeat your Salah. It didn't count. And according to the Hanafi scholars, you have to do Sajdatul Sahu, the sajda of error, but that will fix it. But they all agree that anyone who misses out Surah Fatiha in Salah, their Salah is incomplete. You get less reward, according to the Hanafis, and other scholars would say completely your Salah is just gone. It's like if you lost wudu. Yes.
I was going to say, what about pronouncing it improperly?
So pronunciation is a different affair. If a person cannot pronounce Surah Al-Fatiha but they're trying to learn, it's forgiven. And that takes place with the entire Quran. So we all make tajweed mistakes. Even the greatest of tajweed scholars might make a mistake. It's less likely with them. They're the Qur'an. But most of us, we make mistakes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so forgiving. He could have stated that you're not even reading it right. These are my words, read it right. I'm not going to accept it. But He's forgiven, inshallah. So as long as you're making an attempt to learn tajweed, then however you read, inshallah, it will be accepted. I shouldn't make a blanket rule like that. It depends. If you just completely distort the Quran, it's not going to be accepted. But, as long as you're trying and you're trying to learn tajweed. As for the person who doesn't try to learn tajweed, so you have to be actively trying to learn. Whether that you're watching some YouTube video of a sheikh teaching you how to recite, or you're going to an actual live teacher, it's both are considered you're making an attempt. If you don't do that, when you make a mistake in the Quran, you're getting a sin for it. It's a major sin, meaning guna kabira, right? As we say, to read the Quran. Imam al-Jazari says, "Man lam yujawwid al-Quran athimu." The one who doesn't read the Quran with tajweed is a sinner. Yes.
The App Store, any phone, iPhone, Android, go to the App Store and instead of the al-makhraj, you will see all this pronunciation comes. It's very easy.
While that's true, you need a ustad, right? So ustad is necessary because I'll tell you why. Many people they'll say, "Zalika al-kitabu la rayba fi." They'll say, "Zalika al-kitabu la rayba fi," and you'll say, "Did you make a mistake?" And they'll look with magnifying glasses. They'll zoom in on that letter. No, "Zalika al-kitabu la rayba." Where's the mistake? Haza, "Zalika al-kitab." Every word is a dal. They'll say za because they have Arabic dyslexia. You need to show them. So if you get an app, it won't show you those things. You need a personal, someone who can point out these mistakes.
So the requirement of reciting Surah Fatiha, is that for all 4 rakah in the salah? So for example, sometimes you come and people are in ruku, so you can probably, that accounts for that
Ji.
1 rakah.
So the requirement of Fatiha is if you got that rak'ah. So if you came and the imam is in a ruku' and you join, so you don't have to read Fatiha there with him, but when you make it up, after he's done with the salams, and you stand up, then you'll recite Fatiha then.
So you have to play that.
You'll make it up.
1 rakah extra because
Yeah.
my understanding was that if you joined in the
Okay,
ruku',
yeah, you're correct. So it'll be forgiven. Because you're behind the imam,
right.
you caught the ruku', which is in place of the qiyam. So you caught the imam's salah, his Fatiha figuratively. So it will count. You don't need to repeat it again. No, you don't need to get up. I was thinking something else.
Is that true for all 4 madhahib? Or?
I'm not sure. I believe it's true for all 4 madhahib. If you catch the ruku', you caught the
At least
qiyam.
one or three.
Yeah, just some. Yeah, just
Some
even
one.
a second.
Second.
You got in there. You didn't even say it to speed, but you're in position of ruku', and then the imam stood up. Then you got the rak'ah. It'll count. You don't have to say Fatiha again. But anyway, let's see. 3 more minutes, inshallah. I don't know how long I've been going on, but if you guys will bear with me.
12 minutes, 13 minutes. You have time.
Okay, yeah, 3 minutes is perfect. Alhamdulillah. Right, so these are names of Surah Fatiha. Another really nice name. So we just finished Surah As-Salah. We covered Fatiha, Ummul Kitab, Hamd, Salah, As-Sab'ul Mathani, the 7 oft-repeated ones. Number 6, Surah Shifa, the Surah of the cure. Fatiha is a cure. So I know sometimes you read stuff and it's just like, how far are we from the true example? Surah Al-Fatiha is called Shifa. When you and I read it, we get no Shifa because of how, distant we are from the deen. But it is a Shifa. There is a marfu' hadith, meaning a statement of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, Fatihatul Kitab Shifa'un min kulli sum. Surah Al-Fatiha is a cure from every poison. Caveat, on condition that you have yaqeen. So don't go drinking poison and saying Surah Fatiha if you don't have the yaqeen to match it. If you do, you can. I saw a video of some shaykh, he was in a debate, and some people were saying to drink the poison. So the shaykh, he said, he was saying that if you recite the dua, because the true doer of things is Allah, not the system that he put in place. If Allah wants, that poison won't affect you. So then they challenged him, they brought some poison. They told him to drink it. And he did it. They were so shocked. He drank the poison, he got up, and he probably read a dua, Bismillahi ma'asmihi, la yaduru ma'asmihi shay'in fil ardi wa la fis sama'. There's a dua that Khalid bin Walid recited, and he drank poison, and he wasn't harmed. Khalid bin Walid did it. He read a dua, he drank poison given to him by the enemy. It wasn't his own poison. And he survived. I mean, he didn't even get sick. So the sheikh did it, and then they were so shocked. They're like, we have to check if was this real poison and what's happening. They were stuttering. They didn't know what to do.
It's happening in England, so you can
Yeah.
watch it all.
The Sheikh was fine. Sheikh Asrar, he was fine after that. Yeah, he's still making debates and all that.
How strong he has iman. I saw the
Yeah.
video. Subhanallah.
So it's also called Surah Ruqya. Anyone know Ruqya is to treat people through Quran. So Surah Al-Fatiha is also called the Surah of Ruqya. And I'll stop with this hadith. It's mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim that a person was stung by a scorpion, and a Sahabi, he came and he basically read Surah Al-Fatiha and blew on him. The person was cured from the poison of the scorpion. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't there at the time. The whole story, if I could mention, is the Sahaba were out on a mission, and they ran out of food and everything like that. They came across a people, and they had like many different cattle and sheep and stuff like that. So Sahaba said that, okay, we don't have any more food, and we're like at the end of all of our stores, and we're gonna go hungry. Let's go ask them for a sheep or two. They denied. They said, no, you can't have anything. Suddenly their Amir and their leader got stung by a scorpion, the tribe. So then one person came running out and saying that, is there any Iraqi? Is there anyone who can help our Amir and remove the poison? So one Sahabi said, I can do it, on condition you give me, I think he mentioned like 100 sheep now. Give me 100 sheep. I need to look at it, the exact number, but I think it was like 100. So they said, okay, if you can cure him, you have it. So he went, and then people were watching. He read something, he blew on him, and he was cured. And so then they got the 100 sheep. Some of the Sahaba were hesitant to eat from this, because they're like, you read Fatiha, like how did you know? Is this halal even? Like we don't know if it's right or wrong. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not with us. And some ate. So when they came back to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they told him what happened, this person, he did a ruqya, and they asked him before, what did you do? He said, I read Fatiha and I blew on. He was cured. So then here, the end of the hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, how did you know that Fatiha was a ruqya? So from here, we extract that he calls Fatiha ruqya, so we call it Surah Ruqya as well. And so the person said that, Allah calls it Shifa in the Quran. So I understood from this is a cure. So I used my intellect and I said, let me recite Fatiha, and he was cured. So this is possible. So it's also the person healing you, inshallah, with their yaqeen. And even, maybe if the person doesn't believe in Fatiha, but you have the yaqeen, you can blow on it. The entire Quran is a shifa. So you want to use relevant ayat for that. On a side note, we're going to pause here. I read somewhere that someone came to Imam Ghazali, and he wasn't a amil. Amil is a person like who experiments with the Quran, like some ayahs, is it effective for this disease, that disease, and it works to a great extent, and this is a proof of that. So someone came to Imam Ghazali asking they had kidney stones, so they're like, can you recite or do something for me? So he's like, I'm not an expert in this field, but he thought of an ayah, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْجِبَالِ فَقُلْ يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. They ask you regarding the mountains, say my Lord will pulverize them. Regarding Yawm al-Qiyamah. But the guy has kidney stones, so my Lord will pulverize them in the stones. So he either told the guy to recite it, or he blew on the guy or something like that, and then he was cured from the kidney stones, eventually, I believe. So it went away. So Quran is a shifa. There are plenty of ayat to highlight that. So we'll continue with this, inshallah, on Monday with the different names. There's a few more. There's altogether about 12, and we've covered about 7. So we're going to continue, inshallah. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Yeah, that's fine.